Hello, hello. Welcome back to the smoke room. Yeah, it's cool. I'm really liking this part of Nikolai's expansion. So we'll just get right back into it. I think. I remember that Nick and Yao don't want us to be seen together when we're coming or from or leaving work. So I don't bother waiting by the locker and take the first lift with Dimitri. He tells me I should grab a drink at the stag with the rest of the men, but I turn it down. It feels good to be welcomed, but it doesn't feel good to turn those people away when we have prior obligations. He introduces me to the washing stations, which is more or less one massive hall with showers. It's filthy and packed with naked bodies washing the spots of and the coal and the grime out of their fur. The water's cold and soap is scentless. My nose wrinkles when my fur turns from gray to white. But it feels good to be clean again. But when I leave the mine, I feel joy in the fact that I can find Nick and Yao on the road, walking slowly and discreetly. Congratulations on your first day of work, Sam. And all without incident, too. I grab both of their sleeves and shake my head. No, that isn't true. I filled them in on everything. James's gift, Dimitri and Beckett taking a shine to me, Ben's reaction, Beckett's appreciative strained, yeah. That chain of events concerns me. It's hard to believe that Ben's ambition was would push him to try something like that. But I still don't. But I still had not been promoted. But he still has not been promoted. Perhaps it was a long time coming. It was a mistake to let him part with us at lunch in the first place. It would have been a bigger mistake to ignore Beckett's instructions to where we were supposed to be. If he's already suspicious of Sam's presence due to James's gift, we wouldn't have to implicate ourselves in that. Breaking protocol would make Beckett talk to James, and that's the last thing we want. Fuck protocol. I want to protect my friend. We are not doing a good job. I like you too much to be comfortable with you yelling at me like that, Nick. Nick, it's fine. I handled it myself, okay? No! It is not okay, Sam. You should have stayed at the bunker during the day while Yao and I worked. You're dirty, you're uncomfortable, you barely escaped an injury, and people want to harm you now. Only one person does, I think. Maybe Ben was just having a terrible day and let his emotions get the better of him. Or maybe he just genuinely is an idiot and didn't mean any harm at all. I know that I'm crazy. But, what? Yeah. I know that what I see and what I feel isn't always reliable, even if it feels real in the moment. I thought Nick was going to hurt me too. But I couldn't tell him that. Honestly, I don't entirely know what Hendrix wants. He wants your dick? No. But that's something I don't want to think about right now. One thing at a time. One person trying to hurt you is one person too many. It's too late for me to suddenly quit. And besides, I still want to be down there. I made that choice myself. But there is no reason for you to be down there. He lowered his voice. Especially now that you know how to extract ore. There is a reason. I want to look out for you. Both of you. Yao knows. The badger turns his head to the tiger. Yao knows what, precisely? The tiger inhales, then exhales. There is some sort of aberration? Aberration, right? Is that how that's... I'm just gonna double check. Aberration.
Aberration.
Ha! Got it. A departure from what is normal. A departure from what is normal, usual, or expected. Typically one that is unwelcome. Okay. Aberration in the mines. Nick looks at his friend, then to me with confusion. Then his eyelids narrow. An aberration. He says that word extra slow and lets it hang in the air. We both heard it. I certainly heard something, though I cannot confirm what it is. Like I told your friend, it could be an animal, or it could be vapors affecting our judgment. I do not deny a possibility that it could be something else entirely. But I have put forward what I believe is the most likely truth. I am confident that I can protect myself and Samuel from any natural or unnatural element in the mine. But I am not confident I can protect him from evil people. So this remains my concern. Is there any way I can address that without quitting? Only if there's a way for us to stay together. I want to be able to see you throughout the whole day. We would all need to be consistently on the same team color when Beckett splits us up. Couldn't we just ask him? No. Out of the question. Morse takes his job very seriously. He considers knowing his men key to managing their position. I am certain that he will investigate tonight why James sent you a crate of new tools. And I wish he'd tell me when he finds out. I do not trust Beckett, but I do not think he means us harm. However, if he manages to connect that the three of us are associated, a lot of powerful men will also find out. Our grouping needs to be both assured and look coincidental. So, how do we do that without breaking protocol or being discovered? There isn't a way. Actually, there is. What? How? Chang. Oh. That's Sable from the tent who has dirt on me because I caught him smoking. I don't think he'll help me. I think he will. There's something that he wants. Listen. He's returning to the cabin. I will prepare a letter for you. If you give it to him and have him read it, I know that he will cooperate. And I will prepare dinner for all of us. There will not be voluntary starvation in my midst. While Nick prepares dinner of canned beans and cured meat, I see Yao carefully writing something on a piece of paper with an ink brush, letting it hang to dry. We can't talk much about anything as the cabin is noisy and crowded at this time of day. Workers consistently work in and out of the door for supplies and daily hygiene. Others go to fish for their dinner or hover around the stove, chatting and eating while cooking their meals. Nick is muttering something about finding me a lunch pail, while Yao finally folds his letter and places it in an unsealed envelope. Should I hide this while I'm traveling? Yao shrugs. Most in this town would not be able to read it, but hiding it would not hurt. I take the note out of the envelope. Oh. They're all Asian symbols. Yeah, I can't read this either. Yo, same! I put the letter back in the envelope, pack it, and make my way back into town. The tents that Chang lives in are a little close to the hip, and William's office for comfort. So I take a longer path to get to the back of the area. Sometimes I think I can see a patch of tanny fur or brown or golden eyes, but it always turns out to be something else. When I get to the tent, I take a deep breath and wander inside. The rabbit who yelled at me the first time isn't here. But the man I'm looking for is. A stack of papers are scattered on a coffee table in front of the sofa he sits on, and he notices me immediately. So, it's you again. I wasn't expecting anybody tonight. Well, I wasn't planning to be here myself until last minute. Is that so? Did you change your mind about something? I'm not here to buy anything. Pity. He looks down at the stacks some of the papers he's holding. There's work for me to do. I'm here because I need help. I don't deal out favors for free. Yao sent me. Of course he sent you. There's no other reason for you, reason you would be here if you aren't interested in buying. Unless you're looking to buy something else entirely. Here. I take the letter out of my pocket and shove it into his paw. He gives me a look, plucks it from me, and then opens the envelope and unfolds the paper. As his eyes list across the symbols, his expression moves from perplexed to angry, to then thoughtful. Then he stares at me intensely. So they put you there. On the third floor? Under Moore's. He said the name like it was dripping with poison. Then he folds his good paw over his damaged one. I think we can help one another after all. But I will ask a favor of you before I do. He looks to his left, then to his right. It's the paranoid look I've seen from plenty of my clients before who knew what they do to what's this phrasing I can't read. From plenty of my clients before who know what they want but don't know how to ask it. Is he getting at what I think he's getting at? Is there a shared space? So it is not ideal for sharing. This is a shared space, so it is not ideal for sharing secrets. You might be surprised by how quickly you can leak one anyway. When the mood is right. My mouth curls into a grin. He has a very serious face, but I can't deny he is handsome. I mean, he's cute. Yeah. And his fur looks very soft. What? Well, you mentioned wanting a favor. He digs one of his digits into to his forehead and sighs. I am not asking for your body. Oh. Chang leans in close to me and lowers his voice. I want you to relay a message instead. The public library next to City Hall closes every night at 5 p.m. But it doesn't close, not really. There is a man who buys and sells information there to anybody who can find him, and anybody he considers worth his time. He takes a long drag on his pipe and turns his head the other way, trying not to inhale the smoke like last time. You will tell him this and make yourself worth his time. Say, your brother can never admit that he was wrong, but he still misses and cares about you. And that will get him to help me? It's something he wants to hear for. He's wanted to hear for a long time, but you are a stranger. But he may ask for money as well. I hope not. Between shirking my hip appointments and just staring at the mines for pittance, I'm pretty broke. But if this meant we could get gold, well, maybe it's worth spending what I have if I have to. So if there's a phrase that will help me out, what's the phrase that will help you? That's the beauty of it. They're one and the same. Language can be efficient, can't it, Mr. Ayers? Something about the way he phrases it that unnerves me a bit, I suppose. Chang breathes in his pipe again and then looks away. I wonder if this outcome will satisfy me. Satisfy you how? It's like I told you before. It's just to take some of the pain away. I ain't so sure pain can go away. At least not all of it. His eyelids narrow when he looks at me. I can accept that for yourself if you like. You can accept that for yourself if you like. He looks away again. But please tell Yao I got the message. Okay, I will. I take the hint that it's time for me to go. Outside, I mull over what the Sable had told me, trying to decide if I should go to the library or if I should just go back to the bunker and call this a wash. On the one hand, there's probably a lot of useful things that I could learn from this fellow. On the other hand, Chang seems like he's planning something, and I can't for the life of me figure out what it is. I know that Yao trusts Chang to get results, but can I trust Yao really? Each new link in this chain of interaction seems more and more dubious. But using Chang's phrase might be the only option I have if I keep walking this path. So I decided then, I'm going to the library. Oh, a new background. Or at least I haven't seen this one. Town Hall at night looks a lot less welcoming. The apple tree, which is the only thing with leaves within a great many places, rattles them when the wind blows through it. The front of the library certainly looks like it's closed. But then again, so does the back. I try to open the front door too, and it's locked. But when I look up again at the back door, I could see a little candle lit on a plate. When I go towards it, I turn a corner and see a door that looks like it's locked very tight with a padlock. When I tug on it, it opens without any trouble at all. Ooh, we got a lot of new backgrounds. Man, this looks great. It's spooky. I hate it. I love it. I've never been to the town library before. Oh, look at this uneducated man. Mostly because I heard it was full of a lot of reference material that ain't relevant to me. Also because I don't have a whole lot of time to dedicate to reading thick books full of words I'd have to consistently keep looking up. Hey, I'm doing that right now, and I'm enriching myself. I move past the entire section on growing summer crops to another on whatever optometry is. But then I see a man sitting a stack of newspapers who stands up to when he sees me. I'm loath to turn anybody away from their interest in reading, but I'm afraid the library is closed. This man, okay, I've seen key art of him. And by key art, I mean like when they were like, look forward to Build 17, like that artwork. He's a lad. The man has a reedy, sing-song voice, but a very expressive smile. But if he had a slightly different tone of voice, he'd sound just like Beckett. Porter, actually. He says that somewhat stiffly. Now, I know what Echo's not exactly the size of the Windy City yet, but I find it very queer indeed that somebody would know my brother's name and invoke it in my presence. Ugh, sorry. I guess it's just that you look the same and sort of sound the same. And we haven't been on friendly terms in about 5 years. It would be in your best interest to speak quickly and cleverly, or I'll be forced to turn you out and summon the sheriff. That gets my heart pumping. I better think of something quick. I need some information. He puts on a sing-song tone. That is generally why people come to the library. Is this really the right guy? I'm walking towards the phone. Wait. He picks the phone off the receiver and gives me a look. If he really wants me gone, it's not likely that he would have paused. It was like he's giving me one last chance. Your brother Beckett is sorry. He misses you, and he knows that he could never apologize. Those words just spilled out of my mouth. I don't know if I got it all right or said them in the way Chang wanted me to, but I'm desperate at this point. The lizard adjusts his jaw, stops mouthing with a jolt, and then gives me a curious look before hanging the phone up and stalking back to his table. Well, that's certainly one hell of an introduction. Very well, let's do business then, Mr. Ayers. You know my name? There's only one albino cougar I know in this town. Yes, I know your name. If that surprises you, then you probably shouldn't be here in the first place. I didn't mean any offense. I've been patient with you, Mr. Ayers, because you came here bearing a gift to me. And whether you arrived through your own connections or Gil's, I do not know, but I do bet I could take a stab in the dark. But also, because you've told me something for free, that means it is no longer your chip with which to barter. So whatever you ask for, it will be paid in cash or information. Let's just start with how much you've got. 40 cents. I have little interest in change, Mr. Ayers. Don't talk that way about my grocery money. You're going to have to pay me with what you know. I can tell you about myself. You are a prostitute. You serve men. You work at Sargeras Hip. Oh, wow. The Gila fake yawns. If you're selling something about yourself, then it needs to be much more than that. How do you know that? The same way I know most things of the things I know. Trades. It's certainly not because of my diploma. He flicks his tongue in the way that reptiles do when they think they've told a good joke. Plenty of people have talked about their time with you, but I doubt you could afford to know them. But there's been a whole lot of interest in you as of late. What are you exactly saying? Is that an answer you would like to buy? I'm curious now, in an uneasy way. But that's not what I came here to ask. I came here... can I ask you my question first? And you can tell me how much it costs. Absolutely. He leans closer to me and takes out a pencil and a notepad from his pocket. Well, me and... I need to be careful about what I say now. A couple of friends. A couple is two, yes? Fuck. I sometimes use it to mean more than two. You sound uncertain about that. He smiles brightly at me. So my friends and I were trying to work together at all times when working under Beckett Moores. We don't want to be separated, but we don't want Beckett to know that we are all associated. How can I pull that off? Porter lets out a peal of laughter. Oh, really? Is that all? Yeah, it's important. That's so simple that it seems almost mean to charge. Then don't? Oh, but I must. I'll tell you something that you, rather, already ought to know. And I'll tell you a clear solution that can be what I'm really charging you for. If you want your answers, tell me. Give me the name of one of your companions. Shit. Oh, no. Oh, Ben. That'd be funny. Oh my god. Huh. Would he believe that, though? Would he believe... Okay, so we can rat out one of the cool guys. Man, but they're all so cool, though. I like Paul the most. He's cute. Yeah, let's go with Ben. Let's go with Ben. He's someone to keep close, isn't he? That will be sufficient. So you'll help me now? I will give you what you paid for, yes. Now, how should I put this? I suppose there's no padding it. James Hendricks III is a sodomite who lusts after you considerably. The mine owner? Well, one of them, yes. He's tried to make time for an appointment at Saw Gerrera's hip on numerous occasions, but a wrench often gets thrown into his plans. Well, that's flattering. So that's why he sent me all that equipment. I suppose that makes sense. But I've barely talked to him. He's loaded, though. If you wrap James around your finger, which, frankly, would not be hard to do, you could easily get him to give my brother the order to keep your associates from separating. But that would still bring attention to our association. I've thought of that too. Throw some men into the request who are not associated with you whatsoever. That way, there can be a relation traced between all of you. There can't be a relation traced between all of you. That's intimidating. Incredible. It really isn't. But it will work. If you do what you have to do to make it work, of course. He sounds a little off-put by this. Funny considering it was his idea, not mine. Not really. He really has no excuse. I think that's all I need. Thank you for your help, Porter. Are you sure there's nothing else you want to know? Nothing I can afford, probably. Now I'm not sure about that. I'm willing to bet you have more secrets you could sell. I'd probably bet my life on it. Well, don't get fussy at me if I die. If you die. Then next time, Mr. Ayers. Until next time. If there is a next time. When I get outside, it feels a lot later than it should feel. I should head back to the bunks. It's not a good idea to be out this late all by myself. But it seems like everything I learned tonight was worth it. Unless I run into the sheriff. If William sees me, I'll be ruined. But thankfully, I get to the bunkers without running into anybody or being followed. The lights are out when I get in. I climb into my bunk and quietly, as I as I can without disturbing my cabin mates. They can hear about what I learn tomorrow. I can hear Nick snoring, but I wonder if Yao is still awake. You awake, Yao? I hear the tiger exhale sharply, then pant, as if he had been woken up from a bad dream. It's very late. I know. Sorry to wake you up. Of course. I just want to say that everything went extremely well. I thought it might. Chang is most efficient at these types of problems. I probably wouldn't. I probably could have done this without his help if I weren't so thick. Ended up owing him a favor and everything. That disappoints me. I hope my letter would be sufficient enough without extra conditions. What kind of favor? Nothing too middlesome at all. I just passed on a message. I was desperate enough to sell him my body, but he wasn't interested. I laughed to let him know that I'm joking, but he didn't. But he doesn't seem to laugh back. Are you in the business of such services? That wipes the smile off my face. I figured that I have enough dirt on this man that he wouldn't use this knowledge against me if he did know. Could be. I suspected. I don't like the sound of that. Why's that? It's the way he looks at you. He points below the bunk. There is a lover's closeness, but there is also a distance. He guards you like a fragile glass, yet looks away when others stare at you, like he knows that you wish to be stared at. Maybe I do. I wet my lips and swallow my spit. I must get stares. You must get stares too. Unfortunately, when you wish not to be seen. Why so? I think I'd be even more popular at the brothel if I had this striking fur that you do. You might put me out of business if you did what I did. He smiles at that. White fur and red eyes can be striking too. Whoa. I wasn't really expecting him to flirt back. And I wasn't sleeping. I swallow again. Oh? I have my needs too. We're still as quiet as we can be. There's familiar sounds coming from the other bunks. I understand now what Nick meant by what he said. You get used to it. I should have known that Yao would be doing this at night too. Between the hours, the maintenance of chores, the general exhaustion of work, there's not a lot of time or privacy to handle our natural urges in a life like this. Did you go to bed with your hat on? Like, okay. He takes his paw from under his sheet, sighs, and lets it flop onto the sheet. I didn't mean to embarrass you. It's not as embarrassing anonymously among strangers. But I know your face now. Mind if I join you? His ears splay back. Might be less awkward than finishing alone. Who says I can finish now? The part of you know now knows it has come out some way or another. You seem like the type who doesn't sleep well in ruined clothes or sheets. His chest heaves as he looks back at me. What you are suggesting is dangerous. Is that why you smell so interested? His ears fold back. The wet sounds of squeezing and stroking don't relent. There's a moan, and some of the beds creak. It's not just one of them. Yao looks to the bunks with critical stares, but his eyes soften when he looks back at me. Somehow I think two our other bunkmates don't have much room for criticism if they do notice you make some sounds. So, should I stalk on over, or should I shut my eyes and fall asleep to the night music? I can't pay you anything. That's not a no, if I've ever heard one. I smile bigger, and Yao's ears splay further back. Is the gold really real? Of course it is. Then you're already paying me, aren't you? It's a partnership. Call it whatever you want. The bed creaks a little as I crawl on all fours across the gap to the bed and slide next to the tiger. I'm just in a mood. I can really tell that this is the bed now that I'm on. He smiles a bit similar to me when he's aroused, which I probably shouldn't find surprising. I can take you off guard when a scent is close enough to be nostalgic, but different enough to let you know that it's new. The both of us are pretty big to take up this little bunk together, but if they're built to hold people as big as Nick or Dimitri, we shouldn't have too much to worry about. It just puts us very close. Do you usually do that under your sheets? Only when I think someone could be looking. I don't have to look if you don't want me to. Thank you. I look away and hear the sheets barely flutter as he pulls them off. Now I can really smell him. The side of his thigh presses up to mine, and he feels warm. He turns away and whispers even more quietly. You don't have to wait. Wait for what? I look just for a second, not really thinking about it. His paw is dripping wet. And his shaft is long and thick, and his tip is messy. I look away. He might even be more self-conscious than Nick, but about this sort of thing. I don't even know if he prefers men or women, but I think that he's into this at least, whatever this is. Attending your own. Do you really think I need to? I can feel myself getting bigger in my own pants, feeling a little mischievous. I can hear the sheets rustling near his head. He's checking my groin, but he doesn't take him long to look away. Did you know that most men don't touch themselves in the same way? No. I think that it's interesting how everybody lets it out a little bit differently and develops habits. I free myself from the undergarments restraining me, then split into my paw as quietly as possible. How do you like to do it? He lets out a one-note hum. I just pump. And sometimes squeeze. It's all about slight, slippery corkscrews for me. I demonstrate, but in case he's watching again. You look good at that. He is. I'd hope so. I've been doing it my whole life. When my paw gets to the base of my shaft, I thrust suddenly and aggressively, just to show off. He stifles a groan. Do you ever touch one before? I look at him and watch him. He's pumping now stiffly. Someone else's. No. I'd whistle if we weren't trying to be quiet. Really? That's surprising. And why is that? You just look a little more experienced to me. I am. I do not usually do. I do not usually do the touching. I watch him pump, sounding messier and messier with each stroke. Looks like you're understanding the idea, though. I stroke mine next to his. I wonder if you want to. It's louder than a whisper, but that's not something either of us can help. Are you suggesting a trade then? Just pause. I smile bigger. Unless you're not afraid to swallow. It's a lot nicer than you'd think. I chuckle to myself. Now I'm just being a prick. But he's still leaning like a faucet. He's still leaking like a faucet. He puts his arm behind his head and buries his face in his muscles. You've already made me curious about how to touch. Why change the subject? I don't have a whole lot of time to learn about what somebody wants. So I test things. That's all. He looks away. Help me touch then. He hooked his arms around mine, and then he lets his wrist rest on my belly. Like I said. I bring his wrist to his groin, opening up his big paw, interlocked his digits with mine, and make him touch the shaft. You already know how. I make him pump me. It's not hard at all to what? It's not hard at all because his hand and my prick are already slick. Then I cross my free arm over his. And I grabbed him. He really is grown. You really are a groaner. When I like it. So you like it. I pump us with both of our hands. But I don't have to pump both of us for long. He starts pumping me on his own. And my wrist is just along for the ride now. I show him what it feels like when I touch myself, and he shows me in kind. He grunts in surprise when my grip rotates around his base of his shaft. He grips me tight, much tighter than any rear I've been in. He's breathing into his own arm now as he pants. His panting gets shorter and shorter, and I feel him start to pulse. His teeth are gritted, and he's jabbing into my palm. I whisper even lower. Yeah? He groans, and now his hips are thrusting. Yeah. I see his balls retract, and the skin of it underneath his taint start to spasm. There it is. I can tell how bad he wants to yell out and roar, but he's restraining himself like he knows he's a man in a cage. But the noise... What am I? Yeah, but the noise of his panting speaks for itself. The smell of it is too close to my own, which pushes me over the edge, and our white ropes cross one another as we make a mess on each other's fur. Yao looks at his hands, chest still heaving. He looks surprised at himself, but satisfied. I haven't finished like that in years. That felt right in a way it hadn't before. What did you do? It's simple. I've had to lurk around watching you and Nick do what you're good at all day, feeling useless. And you just got to see what I'm good at. It's astonishing. Try not to be too surprised, please. Now that I know why Nick disappears so often to see you, you might have the wrong idea. You do not serve him? Well, I do. But he doesn't need it every time. Sometimes sometimes he just wants to get in a way and be held. He pays you to hold him? Well, yeah. He could pay me to hold him instead. I need new shoes. Unfair. Well, it didn't start out that way. And I've done a lot more than just use my hand. Well, I don't need to know everything. You asked. Fair. I rest the back of my head on his arm, which is just as which is just as big as any pillow, but a lot firmer. This is nice. He pet me and I start to purr, which isn't ideal if we want to keep quiet. If he purrs too, it could quickly turn into a problem. But my eyelids start to droop. Then he gently nudges me. You probably want to fall asleep in your own bed. Considering our nudity. Oh, that is a good point. I am told I am good at making points. Very funny. But true. Still, I don't believe this is the first time he's given me... I can't believe this is the first time he's given somebody else a handjob. I wonder what else I could give him in... I wonder what else I could get him interested in. Okay. It's a lot easier to wake up today than it was yesterday. So, this... actually... Yeah, I think I'll just end it here. That seems fine. I hope everyone liked Yao and Samuel's sex adventures. And I'll see you around.